Today, I'm sitting down to plan my July monthly setup in my bullet journal. Every month, I show you all a tutorial on the spreads I make for myself, but this month, I wanted to give you something a little more special and hopefully a little more informative by showing you my entire process for designing a monthly bullet journal setup. As much as I love showing you guys my monthly planning tutorials, a lot more thought and planning goes into those setups than what you see. I wanted to show those unseen moments today because I feel that the work that goes into my setup before I even set my pen into my bullet journal and start lettering and making my spreads is the most important part of what makes my bullet journal functional and productive for me. I usually sit down and start my design process for the upcoming month between 2 to 7 days before the new month begins. This is because I have a very scattered mind, so I need a couple days to let the thoughts marinate so I can be at a point of mental clarity when I sit down to plan. Step 1. I evaluate my needs and priorities for the month. Before I fill my head with spread ideas and designs, I need to think about what my purpose and direction is for my monthly setup. In the first step, I evaluate what my needs and my priorities are for that month. I ask myself, what information do I need to reference this month? What information do I need to track this month? And for each of these questions, I also think about what is the importance of this information, and where is the best place to keep it? The answer to this is not always my bullet journal, but in the list I'm showing you today, all of these items I like to store in my bullet journal. Here's my list of needs that I made for the month of July. 1. Appointments. 2. Deadlines. 3. Goals. 4. Tasks. 5. Notes. And then 5. Habits, which is broken down into 3 subpoints. Daily habits, my plant watering, and my sleep. Step 2. I sit down and I look at my past monthly setup and evaluate what worked and didn't work in my bullet journal that past month. I like to do this after I have my list of needs outlined because I find it just helps make the process go by a little faster. And for this step, I love using the monthly review exercise, which you can find on the bullet journal website from the original creator, Ryder Carroll. I originally thought this was in his book, The Bullet Journal Method, but after many minutes of searching, I couldn't find it. I'll link it below though, so you can find it a lot faster than I did. I slightly modified his prompts so they're more tailored towards evaluating my bullet journal system rather than evaluating my life, since that is the original intention of this monthly review. To set up my monthly review, I divide a piece of paper into 4 sections. What's working? What's not working? Keep/add, and leave/change. I use these sections while I'm flipping through my bullet journal to look at the previous month and write down notes on what worked well in my journal that month, what tools may not have worked so well or spreads I didn't fill out, things I want to add or keep in my journal going forward, and things that I may want to remove or modify so they're more effective for me. Admittedly, after bullet journaling for 2 years now, I don't do this exercise every single month, but I did find when I first started bullet journaling, doing a monthly review really helped me learn how to customize my bullet journal for me. Without doing this exercise, I don't think I would have been able to develop the system that I have today. Step 3. Collect inspiration and ideas. Organize your spreads that you want to do and start sketching. I like to do this step after the first 2 steps for the specific reason that I like to have a clear idea of what I need for my bullet journal setup while looking through all of the beautiful journals on the internet. I like to get inspired by looking at Instagram and YouTube, usually through the bullet journal hashtag. And whenever I'm doing this, I like to have my priorities list and my monthly review right beside me so it's easy to reference. While referencing all 3 of these things, I start to create a final list of spreads that I want to make in my bullet journal that month. Within my list of July spreads, I like to make note of stylistic elements or bullet journal techniques that I see and want to implement in that specific spread. This is what my list of July spreads looked like for my bullet journal this month. For July, I wanted to create 5 spreads: a cover page, a calendar with monthly goals, a task list, a notes page, and a habit tracker. For my cover page, I really only needed this section to mark off the start of the month. So because of that, I went for a really simple title, since all I really need to know is what month it is. For all my spreads, I chose to do brush lettering since I find practicing daily in my weekly and monthly setups helps me improve. If you're trying to learn brush lettering yourself, I want to encourage you to practice. It really makes a big difference, and if you're patient with it, you will see improvement, and it will be so rewarding. When it comes to my monthly calendar, I always love to set up a vertical calendar to keep track of all my appointments and due dates. This month, I also wanted to add some lines to divide up the weeks in July so I could see when my busier weeks are. Since my calendar didn't fill up the whole page, I thought this would be an amazing opportunity to use that space to record my monthly goals. Win-win situation, 2 things in 1. I love it. For my monthly task list, I like to record 2 types of tasks: my regular monthly tasks and my tasks that are specific to my goals. I like to record both of these types of tasks together, but I do like to use the Alistair method so that I can assign them to specific weeks. This makes it a lot easier for me to space out my tasks and not leave everything to the last week of the month. Because trust me, that is really not a fun time. P.S. I'm thinking of making a separate video about all the ways I use the Alistair method. Off the top of my head, I think I use it at least 4 times in my bullet journal. It's such a helpful technique, and it's made such a positive impact on the functionality and productivity of my journal. So I would love to hear if you all would be interested in seeing that. In my needs list, I wrote down that I wanted to track my daily habits, my plant watering, and my sleep. I decided to put all of these into one habit tracker spread so that I would only have to turn to one page each morning when I sit down to record which habits I've completed the previous day. One thing I did want to make sure of with the spread was that I left enough space between the different types of information I was tracking so it didn't get jumbled and merge into one giant lump of chaos. At this point, I start to finish up my July spreads and give them a flip through and appreciate how all of my hard work turned out. This setup only took me 25 minutes, and that's a time period that I like to stay around when setting up my bullet journal. Fast and effective is my kind of style. But the process of designing a monthly setup doesn't end when you finish creating your spreads. To me, the most important step of this entire process is step 4, test and refine. It's so important to test out the spreads you've created during the month, because ultimately, no matter how much you plan, you never truly know if something's going to work until you try it and see how it goes with life. I recommend, after step 4, going back to step 1 for the next month and starting the entire process again. The entire cycle works really well together and really focuses on finding improvements and making those changes so your bullet journal is truly customized and optimized for you. Now that my monthly setup is finished in my bullet journal, I have to put it away for a couple more days because I set this up quite early. However, I am so excited for July to come so I can start to fill out all of my monthly spreads.